we go. Another edition of Coach Speak. Great to be back with you. Sorry, took a week off a week ago. Busy times. Boys, we're interviewing all the new players. What are you going to do? We got things on our plate, but it's time to get into it. Ben, first and foremost, what do we have to lead us off?
Hey, I think we might have a new Coach Speak favorite. Shout out to Ira for finding Matt Brady, interim DePaul head coach. This is after a blowout loss to UConn. It's kind of longer, but it's just 4 minutes of gems.
4 minutes? That's the whole show.
Really poor. This group has not gotten better at transition defense. And individually, we have guys that don't recognize the value of blocking out at this level. It's disappointing, and it's repetitive, and it's something that we work on. It's something we talk about. It's something we show them on film. And by and large, it's some of the same guys. And I've stressed over and over that it seems like every possession somebody makes a mistake. And at this level, when you make a mistake, the ball is going to find the open guy. And this group, as basketball IQ, has got to get better, and it's got to get better quickly.
What specifically do you want to see more of from Mac to possibly get some more playing time?
Yeah, so two opportunities he had to play vertically and take the offensive player and let him hit him in the chest. He fouls anybody that comes near him. And, I took him out there. We smiled about it. He goes, I know what I did. I fouled the guy, and I just should have gone hands straight up and used my chest. And he just doesn't want to do it. It's not, and he's not the only guy on this team that doesn't want to take, the thrust from the offensive player in the chest. But that's what you have to do. If you're going to reach with your hands, you're going to get fouls. You're going to put them on the free throw line. It gets their defense set. If he just goes hands straight up and plays vertically, that's the first thing. He's got a pretty good basketball IQ, but we need him to be grittier on defense. And it's a part of him that needs to grow. We need him to be tougher on defense, and he's just not quite there yet.
Elijah Fisher struggled early on tonight, and then he only got 7 shots up on the night. Do you feel like he needs to be a little more aggressive as a player to be a little more consistent, or what do you really feel like you need to see out of him and just his growth going forward?
Yeah, Elijah's going to need a great summer to make a jump as a player because he can, but he doesn't yet quite recognize the critical nature of playing hard on defense.
Good grief.
And his minutes are probably few too many. I'd love to have more answers to put him on the bench when he makes more mistakes.
Good night.
But we do value what he brings to this team. He's got some ability, but he doesn't yet know how hard you have to play to be successful at this level on the defensive end. He doesn't change ends either way with any rapidity. He just doesn't move fast. His motor isn't great. And so that's what I've shared with this young guy is that if you don't develop a motor, then it's going to be really hard for you to have success at this level because that's not something that can be taught. You have to draw that out of yourself, and we can't teach you that. Now, I'll show it to you, and I'll take you out of the game, but I don't want to take guys out for every mistake they make because I don't want that to impact their level of confidence. I don't want them to be looking over their shoulder. So it's a little bit of a fine line trying to take guys out when they make mistakes. But I can't take him out for lack of motor because he wouldn't spend much time on the court. So we've talked about that many times. When he sees it on tape, he sees it. He doesn't really know how to play very hard yet, so we're still working on that.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
And then nearing the end of the regular season, what do you really want the team as a whole to improve on over these last games?
I'd like them to die.
So grit and toughness. And we're not there. This team is not gritty, and it's not tough enough.
We know.
It makes repetitive mistakes, and that's not a physical thing. That's a grit, and that's a toughness, and that's a basketball IQ. And I keep saying to the team, I just did it a few minutes ago, we're going to win a game. But we've got to get better, and we're going to start again with practice. We're going to get taped. We're going to show them the films. We're going to show them the mistakes, and we're going to practice for 90 minutes tomorrow. That's not typical, but this wasn't worth it. I mean, tonight we didn't get enough done to show improvement. So we have to practice harder, and I'm trying as best I can to manage their legs. But we need more out of these guys. We need more out of every single guy, or we can't get that win that's eluding us right now.
He's a Hall of Famer.
You just want to let it wash over you.
And the crazy thing is, guys, DePaul is like 21-4. They're having a great season, and he has a different standard. I just looked it up. They're 3-21.
Yeah.
So
Elusive wins, indeed. By the way, I like that the first guy that he's ripping needs to learn how to take the thrust.
Yes,
In
into the
his
chest.
chest.
Take the thrust into the chest.
Yeah, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. He needs to learn how to take the thrust. Secondly, Elijah doesn't play hard, cannot move, and has no motor. But unfortunately, we don't have anybody to replace him with.
He sucks so bad, he has to play anyway.
Honestly, he's playing too much as it is. I wish I didn't have to play him at all. In fact, I wish I didn't have to see any of these guys.
Man,
I feel like he
doesn't
hasn't found
play
the right
hard,
buttons
can't
yet.
move, has no motor. I don't know that I've ever heard of a thorough
Evisceration. It's here. What's funny about it is usually an interim head coach is like the player's coach. So the head coach got fired because DePaul sucks, because Mac won't take a charge, and because Elijah won't run up and down the court. So the former coach got fired. This guy's the interim head coach, and he's just going to just crap on everybody. I mean, in his defense, they had just played UConn, and they lost by 40-something. So he probably wasn't in a great headspace at this point. But good grief. You just feel everybody is an interim head coach?
The other day, Boston beat, I think it was Brooklyn, by 50 points in an NBA game. 50 points in an NBA game. And their coach didn't even say this. Their coach didn't even say I mean, my God.
You'd also think that, like, this guy was at the end of his rope, but he's only been the coach there for, like, 3 weeks. So it's not – I mean, I know he was the assistant before
I was going to say, he's seen it before.
But, my gosh, you would thought that he's, like, ready to just quit the sport. And maybe those guys are bad enough that he will quit coaching basketball. He doesn't seem happy. He doesn't seem like a happy guy.
I like him, though. I'm proud of him. This is a Coach Speak legend after one clip. Ben, what was his name again?
I believe it was Matt Brady.
I don't know how many more chances we're
going to get. Matt Brady.
I don't
know that – I agree, Ira. I don't know that we're ever going to get another Matt Brady. But I just want to appreciate it while we did, because that was as good as it gets.
He was so matter of fact too. Usually when coaches are saying stuff like that, they're losing their minds as they're doing it, and their voices are getting louder and louder. He's just kind of no nonsense. Like, look, Elijah can't run up and down the court twice without looking like you just smoked a cigarette. Old Johnny won't take a charge if his mom's life depended on it.
No,
he was just like matter of fact about the whole thing.
He said, he goes, we were just laughing about it on the court, about what a slappy he is and how he doesn't try hard.
No motor, doesn't play hard, and cannot move.
Hey, I can't sub him out because all the other guys are worse than him.
Imagine how bad everybody not named Elijah has to be.
Yeah.
I also love the sincerity of that young female reporter who's like, what can Mac do to get on the court more?
Yeah, start taking some thrust into his chest. Start. DePaul used to be good, everyone. Back way when we were kids, DePaul was one of the best programs in the country. They were awesome, and now they are an abject horror show.
I feel like that next day's practice, though, is probably going to be a banger. That next
90 minutes of hell right there.
Elijah didn't even show up. No way Elijah even came to practice.
Do you think that there are any old timers that are like, man, if we just had Pat Kennedy back here at DePaul?
The glory days.
Those were the glory days. Those were the glory days compared to 3-21.
My goodness. All right, Ben. Clip 2.
Hey, I did want to point out real quick, one of DePaul's 3 wins is over Kenny Payne in Louisville, by the way.
All right.
Just so you guys are aware. Let's keep it on the same theme. How about this? We've got a request on Twitter. This is I'm surprised we've never had him on the show with a throwback clip. This is Steve Spurrier after an ugly win over Vanderbilt. It was nominated by Jared Owen on Twitter.
That was a game I didn't like a bit, although I'm proud of the offensive kids for scoring a bunch of points here and there. And Bryson Williams picked one off, got a defensive score. We sort of thought we could get one. But the way we play is embarrassing. I told you guys, it's embarrassing the way we play. And I'm the head coach of this embarrassing group of guys. Allow 2 kickoff returns. Defensive backs won't turn around and look for the ball when they lob it down the field. in 3 deep, and they throw it off 2-yard line. Our kid lets a guy run right by him. It's embarrassing, but we are who we are. We're not a very good team, but we're 3-1 somehow, and we got all the voters fooled, thinking we're pretty good. I guess because we beat Georgia. But anyway, I don't know exactly what all can help this team. I really don't. We thought we coached our butts off all week, and we could look like a decent team. And of course, they run the opening kickoff back. So I'm taking over kickoff coverage. I told Coach Joe Robb, I'm not going to watch him anymore. I'm going to take it. If we have to pooch it on the ground, which was pretty good for us. That grounder was pretty good, but maybe we found something Landon could do better than anybody in the country, that grounder, because it took a funny hop every time. It was sad. We just kept running right by the kickoff return guy, and he just split us just about every time, I guess. But anyway, it was discouraging, but it is what it is. We have to almost score a touchdown every time, or we're going to get our butts beat somehow or another, it seems like. And fortunately, we were able to score a bunch. Guys hit some passes. Dylan had a few good ones here and there, missed a couple here and there, missed some long balls. Pharaoh Cooper had a heck of a game. He got a game ball, 10 catches, and that long run there at the end that I thought put it away. But when Dylan snuck it in, I said, that was a mistake. We should have taken about 3 downs to try to sneak that thing in. There was 4 minutes left, and we only had a 14-point lead. So I was nervous, but fortunately they didn't recover the kick, or they would have scored, like they did in 30, 45 seconds, wherever it was, and they'd been onside kicking to go tie the game. So that was a mistake on my part, letting him score with 4 minutes left in the game. So I'll try to get smarter in the future, and hopefully we can get better. But it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing the way we played. All right, any questions? But I don't know. We've all seen good football teams. We ain't one. Don't say we're one right now. Man, the way we play, man. But maybe we can be. I don't know. But it's no fun for me watching us play tonight, I'll tell you.
I think most people, and enough time has passed that even Florida State fans would say it, I miss that dude. I miss just the personality. College football at one time had a ton of characters in the game, and they're all gone. They're mostly all gone.
Yeah.
And he was certainly one of them. And it was a lot easier to digest that from afar when he was at South Carolina and watch all that stuff. I mean, because he would always kill Clemson and say crazy things about Dabo, and it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, Aranda's still around, so not all the personalities are gone, but most of them are. And, yeah, the beauty of that is I didn't go look up the score, but they won the game. They probably scored 50 points the way he's talking, or 45 points. But it's Spurrier, so it's all about the guy that's not doing his job well, which is clearly, the special teams coordinator, because it sounds like he's out of a job.
Yeah, he's done.
And then the defensive coordinator, who he won't even name. Who just basically says, we got to score a bunch of points because we can't stop anyone every week. Got to score a bunch of points. Thank God I'm here in my offense, can put the ball in the end zone because Lord knows the other team's going to score.
The best when I covered him back in the day, the Ron Zook at one of those Tuesday press conferences, Ron Zook famously said one of their issues on defense was that Spurrier's offense scores too quickly, and his defensive guys get tired. So then right after that interview, we went to a press conference with Spurrier, and somebody relayed that to Spurrier, and I mean, he had a good chuckle. He's like, "Wait a minute, so we're not supposed to score?
Yeah, slow it down.
Is there what?
I tell you what, it sounds like Zook. He had learned Zook's message because he was lamenting the fact that they scored too quick. Yeah, so Zook is on to something. Yeah. Spurrier needs to shut his mouth.
It also is an illustration that the juxtaposition of those two coaches back to back is you can be Spurrier when you're when you have success.
Yeah,
like you can be the biting, ripping everybody. Mm-hmm. But when you're the interim coach at a school that's won 3 games, maybe take a different gear.
Right.
Does he think they're suddenly going to get hot and win their last 4 to finish 7-23?
Yeah.
Like this, he'll light a fire.
Hey man, they can win. Maybe they can win the conference tournament as long as Elijah will start playing. Yeah. As long as Elijah will start getting into shape and playing basketball.
Our 3-20 team just needs a little tough love. That's what they're missing.
That's all they need. That's and he's got to learn how to take a thrust. So there's all that too. All right, Ben. Number 3, what do we got?
All right, our first two coaches summarized their thoughts. It was about 4 minutes each. This one took about 10 seconds. This is Damon Stoudamire. Loved watching him play back in the day. Now the head coach at Georgia Tech after a big loss to Wake Forest.
Coach, if you would, just start us off with a quick statement, and we'll go right to questions.
Got that ass whooped. Questions. Nothing really to say, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Got that ass whooped.
Damon, you realize we're not out at the playground?
Yeah.
Like this, there's cameras rolling?
Yeah.
You're at Georgia Tech, my man.
That's all. And by the way, I don't know the final of that game, but that's the right summation. Like I saw the bottom line scroll because I have a buddy that's got Georgia Tech season tickets, and they were down at home something like 50-20. So they did get that ass whooped. Now that was a 40-minute ass whooping.
He's
what
not.
else do you need to say?
This isn't faux outrage. He's not one of these coaches like like Spurrier. He's going to find something to complain about.
Man, I do like I like that he wanted to talk to the press in the way that we would talk amongst each other about a disappointing game from one of our favorite teams.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you sit down with your buddy at the bar, Corey, to talk about the Falcons who just lost by 24. You're like, man, we got that ass whooped today. You know, it's just like, that's how you're just going to talk about it.
What's funny, though, is usually you're talking to your buddy and saying that about his team.
Right.
Like, man, the Bucks got that ass whooped today. Yeah. The Lions put it on them.
Yeah.
Not your own college basketball team.
or like you said, if you're playing pickup and you walk over to the side and somebody walks up and they're like, "What happened? You guys lost?" Yeah, man,
got that ass whooped. I like, and he doesn't include the we.
Yeah.
The we is gone. There's no possessive. It's just got that ass whooped.
Yeah.
You think that was when he walked in the locker room? That's what he just shut the door and he's like, "Guys, got that ass whooped." This is what happens.
It's the greatest ever. I mean, you really don't need to say anything else.
I don't know why anybody, but I hope nobody even asked a question after that.
They're like, all right then. All right.
Or the question is like, can you take us through how you got that ass whooped?
When I was looking through some coach press conferences to help Ben out, I stumbled upon Lamont Paris, South Carolina's coach, who, by the way, I was super impressed with. Just one press conference, I was like, man, this guy.
What's his name?
He's Lamont Paris.
Isn't South Carolina good this year too?
Yeah, they are good, and
yeah.
he's turned them around overnight, and he's real. Watch his press conference so they lost to Auburn like by 30. They got drilled by Auburn, and he was awesome in his press conference, and he was the exact opposite. He's like, look, guys, we played one of our worst games, and they played their best game. He's like, they've got guys running down full speed, pulling up from 18 feet and hitting nothing but net. That's not normal. Like that's not how he's like, I'm not ripping them, but that's not how they're going to play. And we picked a bad night to play our worst. And this is what happened. What was cool about it was he was not like, all the questions were like, are you, how devastated are you? And he's like, man, this is just one of those games.
Well, in fairness, it didn't seem like Stoudamire was like devastated. Like it's his first year, he was almost being kind of tongue in cheek. Like, what do you want me to say? Yeah. It's just the verbiage was funny, but he might have been really insightful as the press conference wore on. He might have been really insightful. But what a great opener!
I find all of that refreshing. I mean, it's hilarious that he did it. I mean, it's old school, and occasionally, if you don't do that every week, you're gonna
right.
Yeah. If you do it,
you can also tell that Damon's not a guy who spent 20 years in college basketball.
No,
like working his way up, and for this opportunity, he's like, man,
not like our guy at DePaul.
Exactly.
I wonder if that 90-minute practice was him like, I'm gonna thrust into you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna thrust right into you.
I'm tired of getting that ass whooped.
Yeah.
Taking too many ass whoopings around here.
What do we got next?
All right, we're going to stick in the ACC, but we're going to go on the women's side of things. This is Louisville coach Jeff Walz. I don't know if you guys saw this. Louisville was playing at Syracuse. I think they had a 1-point lead. 2.3 seconds left. They had fouls to give. They foul, and the referees ruled it an intentional foul. So Syracuse got 2 free throws and won the game on those 2 free throws.
Hey, Ben, before you put that, you guys kind of remember, I think, back in the 80s, they would call intentional fouls if you didn't when it's an obvious foul situation.
Right.
If you didn't at least try to make a play on the ball.
Right.
On the ball, right.
But that has been out of our game for at least 30 years. Like you have people grab it in the back, bump it into people. Like that became this sign. We haven't seen that at the end of a game in 35 years. They just don't call it
because they don't want people to get hurt. Because they know what used to happen is when people would make a play on the ball, they would use it as a means by which to hammer somebody's forearms and say, "I was going for the ball." And so that they were like, "Okay, we're done with this. If you just foul, be reasonable. We're not going to call intentional."
If we know you're fouling. And all you're doing is just grabbing them. It's intentional. Everybody knows it's intentional, but they never call it intentional.
But that's what's so crazy about
game.
this. That's what's so crazy because they had the lead and just were trying to foul to run some more clock because, like Ben said, they had a foul to give, and they call it intentional foul. There's intentional fouls. There's intentional fouls in every basketball game, every night. All over the place, but this is the only time it's called, and it cost them the game. I can't imagine. Anyway.
This is where you think a coach would want to fight an official.
Yes,
before I haven't seen this clip. I am not a fan of this guy because I think he's a little theatrical. But I'm very much looking forward to his comments after that.
Let's see it. Here we go.
God awful call. It's absolutely terrible officiating. They should be embarrassed.
Nice.
But I'll get my fine. I'm sure I'll get a letter of reprimand. But at this point, somebody has to start holding the officials accountable. That call was the worst call I've seen in my 29 years of coaching. If we're going to start calling that, every foul at the end of a game when a team has to foul is intentional.
Yeah.
Every foul is. We all know it is. But to call it in a 1-point game with 2.5 seconds left, it's awful. It's atrocious. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for our league. But we'll never hear anything about it because it's such a sacred society that we can't ever reprimand publicly an official, God forbid. But we'll reprimand coaches and players will be called out. But there's three people out there, God forbid, if we came out and we actually said a league made a statement that it was a blown call, bad call. We won't do that.
I like him today because usually I'm not a fan, but he's 100% right.
Yeah. What's crazy too, and you guys won't be surprised by this, the ACC defended the call. Basically said it's in the, it's at the discretion of the referee by the letter of the rules. That is an intentional foul. There was an intent to foul, and then the NCAA referees came out the next day and said, basically. That is not the intent of the rule, and it was a horrible call. But the ACC will absolutely stand by what happens in one of their contests because it's the ACC. I can't imagine losing a game like that. And they're playing for kind of high seeding. That was a big game.
Yeah, I can't imagine being able to keep my cool after losing a game like that, knowing that the spirit of that rule. I mean, we all know what the deal is there. And what can you – I'd have to walk off the court. I don't think I could sit and have a discussion. Like if you were trying to say – because normally you're trying to explain why the official made a mistake or what he missed or what – everybody would know what was going on there. I'm like, I can't even talk to you because if I do, I'm going to punch your face. This is that's impossible.
Well, now look, it might have been a female ref. They do have a lot of those.
Yeah, obviously.
You know what I mean? I don't know who made the call. There might be people here that do know, that did watch the game. I don't know
they're going to read too much into my comment. And they go,
you wouldn't punch a woman in the face.
Of course
but
not.
if it was a dude, get ready to get that ass whooped.
I will say this. Officiating is not great across the board in college basketball, but in women's college basketball, it is atrocious. I mean, it's constantly atrocious. If you watch a women's basketball game and you hear a whistle, it's anybody's guess, whether it's a female or male ref, what the call is going to be, whether or not it happened, whether it's related to it's insane how bad it is.
It's anybody's guess is an awesome descriptor.
It's incredible. And the
you'll
other
see,
thing,
Ira, right to that point, you'll see 2 calls a game, this being one of them, obviously, that you've never seen before.
Right.
You're like, there's no way you just called a charge. She didn't even run into anyone.
Yeah.
She fell over. She charged her own teammate, and you called it. Like you see two calls a game that are absolutely unbelievable.
It's like referee bingo. It's like, hey, we haven't called a 3-second, so let's call a 3-second call. I mean, just at the most random of times. The other thing, when I was another press conference I watched was Bill Self, and he was complaining. He got a tech. I think he said it was like his second tech of his career, and he got a tech for complaining about a call. And he was complaining that there's too much physicality in the men's game right now. And maybe that's true, but I also think most of the games we watch, there's 50,000 free throws.
Yeah, there's way too many
hey,
free throws.
Also, I remember you cover a team that is literally leads the country in fouls.
Right.
They foul more than any team in the country. So, and they get fouled more than most teams in the country. So that's you're watching through the vacuum of Florida.
But it also,
State.
I don't know, maybe it just feels like also ACC men's games. It just feels like, man, everything is called.
It's almost unwatchable, Ira.
Right.
I'm with you. I've watched a ton of ACC basketball this year, and I'm forever lamenting doing so. I'm forever like, why am I watching this? I can't do this anymore.
That's college basketball in general. What I look forward to is these referees. Typically, you'll see them a few times a season. A group of referees. There's a chance that crew will do another Louisville game, and there's a pretty good chance Louisville, because they're good, will have a lead late in the game, and the other team's trying to catch up, and will try to foul to stop the clock.
And we'll see what that guy does.
Let's see how many intentional fouls there are going to be called, because he has now set a standard, and you just want him to be – you just want a reprimand. You want some sort of public reprimand or a suspension, because that clearly is not the spirit of the rule.
Yeah, and the problem is there won't be – the problem is they will not right the wrong if given the opportunity.
They'll defend it.
Well, and also because the NCAA just told them that was wrong.
Yeah. Well, what's weird about that whole thing is I could see one referee – making a mistake, like getting caught up in the moment, having a brain fart, whatever, making a mistake.
And the other refs come over and go, hey, Bob.
Yes, that's what's shocking is that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Hey, that happened in my son's high school basketball game this year. A kid was dribbling the ball up the floor for the opposing team. He literally tripped over his feet. Nobody was really around him or anywhere. The official on the back right side who could not see blew the whistle and called a foul. The other two officials walked over and were like, no, dude just fell over his feet. Like, you can correct it. It's okay. You can be like, hey, whoa,
not in the ACC. They're not. Hey, I hope they're not hoping to climb the ladder and get into some ACC refereeing. That shit don't fly up here.
Not having that.
Next up, what do we got?
Yeah, I will say Bill Self, I wanted to include him, but I couldn't find a great video of him. He had gotten ejected for the first time in his career. Texas Tech whooped that ass.
They did.
Yeah, they I couldn't find a good clip of that one, though, unfortunately. Here is Andy Reid after the Super Bowl talking about him and Travis Kelce's incident.
Yeah, he caught me off balance. I wasn't watching. Cheap shot, but that's all right. He did good. He was really coming over just put me in, I'll score, so that's really what it was. Well, I love that. I mean, it's not the first time, so I appreciate him.
Right here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
He appreciates him.
Yeah.
Okay, we all get it. The average person makes too much of that situation who hasn't been around football. That said, Travis Kelce's a douchebag. And if I'm Andy Reid, there ain't going to be too many more of those. That's the only thing I would say. Like, you can yell at me and I can yell at you, and we can be grown-ass men in the middle of a battle here in football and all that. You're not knocking me out. You're not touching me, man. We're not having this nonsense.
It's also one of those things like Jimmy Johnson back in the day is like, do you treat Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith and Deion differently? Yes, I do treat them differently.
Yes, I do.
And so as long as Travis Kelce can, do what he does, have 8 catches in the second half. He's going to be a little bit more tolerant than if it was some other dude
no
just
doubt.
on the team.
And I don't typically listen to that podcast that he does with his brother, and I like his brother, but they're both just crazy. They're just crazy dudes. You can tell they've lived some life. But his brother was like, look, man, he goes, you don't get to be the best tight end on the planet without being crazy, without being some weirdo competitive. You are above and beyond competitively anybody you've ever met. We are above and beyond competitively anybody you've ever met. That said, don't scream at your coach.
Yeah.
Don't get in your face and scream at your coach, because I know what you're doing. But but the people, and Travis said that Andy Reid came over to him on the bench a few minutes later and was like, man, I've got cameras all over me. You can't do that.
Well,
not that he was mad that Travis was
Right.
mad and angry because they had just fumbled, but like you can't come bumping into me accidentally and then keep screaming at me. And Travis admitted he's like, once I bumped into him, I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
I didn't
he
want to
knew
back
it was
down
wrong.
after that.
He knew it was wrong, but also you can't put yourself out there in order to raise your level of fame the way that he has in the last 2 years and not understand there's an added responsibility.
Cameras
that
are more
now
on
comes with that.
cameras are more on him than Andy Reid.
Yeah,
You know?
and from I look at two ways. On one hand, man, I'm all for people who are
ultra competitive
and people that are trying to achieve the same goal, having conflict. Like
Sure.
if I do something and one of you guys, we work together and one of you guys says, man, that was BS, I can live with that. That's fine. Because I know we're all trying to achieve the same goal. And in a Super Bowl, imagine, I have no problem with that. Where I do have a problem is, and you talk about the responsibility those guys have is, man, how many kids are seeing that? And if you think that that's okay for Travis Kelce to do it, like now you've got kids, high school players, college players,
we see it all the time.
who think that's the one thing that frustrates me sometimes with pro sports is they don't realize that they're setting the
and
table.
he said it. To Corey's point, he did say it later. He's like, I can't do that. I know that's wrong, and he hit all those points. But man, come on, get a hold of yourself, dude. What are we doing? I can be mad. I can go to the sideline and dip a Gatorade thing over or throw a helmet down or walk by him and say, what the F, what are we doing here? But come on, man.
It's a football sideline. Crazy stuff gets said and shouted at each other the whole time. Yeah. It's just really like almost literally running up to the head coach, knocking him over. A 70-year-old head coach, knocking him over and then screaming in his face. But it's got to help. Obviously, the relationship is that, what has he been there, 12 years, 10 years, 11, 12 years? I mean, they've been doing this a long time together. He knows Travis Kelce is like a released zoo animal at times, especially in the middle of a Super Bowl. Yeah. So he's not going to take too much umbrage with it. And he's not calling him a fat piece of blank. He's just saying, get me the ball. So it looked bad. It looked so much worse than I think it was. And it's also Travis Kelce, man. That's what you get with the guy. And it does sound like there was some remorse.
He's been a little unhinged more the last 2 years, but go ahead.
Also, Andy Reid, we got to give him some blame. His lack of balance. The thing with
correct, 100%. He was barely touched, Ira.
Was it Chris Jones, or like when he laid on top of him did you see that clip?
Yeah.
Like when he went to hug him on the ground and then he like couldn't get up and he was like stuck. He was like peached on top of him.
It's like what happens when you're 70 and you eat 5 burgers a day. Come on, Andy. Put in some time in the gym if we're going to mistreat ourselves.
So a strong breeze might have knocked him over is what I'm saying.
Ben, what do we got next?
Hey, speaking of old legendary head coaches, do you guys want to hear San Antonio Spurs head coach Greg Popovich's take on social media? I think you do.
Boy. Okay. I wonder if he's heard of it. I wonder if he's heard of Twitter.
Yeah.
Coach, you encourage the players to read books in this era with smartphones and with so much social media. It's becoming hard to instill this habit.
You're right. I don't.
How do you deal with it?
We do the best we can to help them. Like, we bring in speakers that even talk to them about the negatives of social media. And, that they don't have to be slaves to it. They don't have to live every moment wondering what somebody's saying about them, good or bad. People don't have to know when they go to the bathroom and eat a meal or wash their car, that it shouldn't affect their lives at all. And the more we tell them, the more they live their lives not caring what anybody else says, especially people they don't even know. And oftentimes it's even your relatives. Most people in your family don't know what the hell they're talking about when they tell you something about basketball, unless it's, somebody, one of their family's a coach or played or something like that. So the more you can depend on your teammates and yourself to find your place in the world, I think the better off you are. So we try to get that across to them as much as we can. And, having speakers in and, sharing books with them is part of the process.
Yeah, he's right. That's easy. That's straightforward.
At least he knew what Twitter was. He didn't come out and say, I don't even know what these things are called, how you do it. I don't have a Twitter account.
I got to give
Lord
him
knows
credit.
he doesn't.
I got to give him credit. Normally with Popovich, you're like, okay, he's going to go a little over the top. Just that was it fun. Right there. That was perfect.
He was in a good space there. Yeah, he was in a good space.
Yeah.
I do like the premise of the question is it harder in this day and age to get your team to read books?
Yes.
And it's like, yeah. Most of them haven't opened a book. I'm just talking about teenagers and young people don't read books at all.
Have them come to Corey Clark's house or Jeff Cameron's house to talk to a 13-year-old about the importance of reading books. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Hey,
they don't get it.
LeBron reads them. Well, he at least walks around with them. He carries them around. We don't know.
You know what, Ira? You make a great point. At least LeBron knows enough to know that it would look good if he had a book in his hand.
Does he walk around with books? I don't know.
Oh, dude, he's forever being made fun of on social media.
Oh, is he? Okay.
For posturing and doing all this stuff.
Well, I'm not on social media, so I don't know. I'm too busy reading books.
Do you know what it is? You know what
I mean, I've heard about it. It's people interacting from all parts of the world, right? They can send you a message.
And they're cordial, and it's usually respectful.
Okay,
it's great. It's
sign
great.
me up. Where do I sign up for this? This sounds great.
You learn so much from others.
He also, I like when he said you don't need to let everybody know when you're having dinner or going to the bathroom or washing your car. When's the last time an NBA player washed their car? Like they actually washed their own car.
Did they washed it? Probably not. But also, when's the last time an NBA player said, "Hey everyone, hope you're having a good Friday. I'm about to drop a deuce." I don't think that's ever happened either, Ira.
Draymond might have.
Corey, I was going to say, I don't know, buddy. I think that's a distinct possibility.
You think there are players out there, guys? I got to really pee. I've been holding this in.
Players in general, people documenting the burger that they're eating.
I get that. The step too far was telling people when you're going to the bathroom. I don't think that's something that social media has grasped on yet.
Final clip. Let's do it, Ben.
All right, this is Rick Barnes, former Texas coach, now at Tennessee. He was asked about the atmosphere at Texas A&M, where he's coached many times in his career.
Anything else? You've seen a lot of games in this gym. How did the atmosphere feel for a late conference battle between two teams?
I mean, it was fine. I mean, like I said, I've been here a lot, and I don't think it's overwhelming. If that's what you're asking me, but I don't think there aren't many arenas in the country that I would say are overwhelming. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for A&M and been coming a lot, obviously, but I think someone should teach them about overrated, because I think it takes away from their win, and they're a good basketball team. I mean, when you start chanting overrated, you're diminishing the fact that their team just played a heck of a basketball game and beat a good team. And if we're overrated, what does that say for their team? And but they've been doing that for how long have I been coming here? 25 years.
Yeah.
So maybe you should write it and tell them.
How great is that? The whole thing is awesome because this reporter just wants him to say how great Texas A&M's crowd was.
He ain't giving him that.
He won't give it to him, Ira, and you can tell right away. He's like, all right.
All right, it's not overwhelming. It wasn't incredible if that's what you're asking.
Man, I love when a coach recognizes what kind of nonsense is being thrown his way. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It would be better. He could have kept it going. He's like, really, let's think about it. Let's rank them. I've been coaching for 25 years. Let's talk about the atmospheres that I've encountered at each venue, and I'll tell you exactly where it ranks. And then just name 100 places before he gets there.
Back in the day, when I was I used to coach at the Dean Dome. I used to coach at Duke. I used to coach. I'm going to put them up here.
Tucker Center. Don't forget the Civic Center in Tallahassee, which can be a.
Hey, listen, when Florida was good, the O-Dome was tough.
Yeah.
O-Dome was tough back in the day. We got that. Then let's see. Coach.
I used to go to Kansas. I mean, you can't put you. So I'm going to say this is around 17th.
By the way,
keep it going down. Name 39 other venues.
Iowa State is sneaky loud.
Iowa State is tough.
Yeah.
It really
I was
is
just
tough.
talking about it to a friend the other day. In fact, I'm glad you asked the question. I said, the sneakiest tough place to play? Iowa State. So I'm going to put them up there. Yeah.
And I don't mind when they chant overrated. Because I respect that fan base. They actually show up. It is funny that he would ever go like, what? The answer could have been, I guess the reporter wanted it to be like, hey, shout out to Aggie Nation.
Yeah.
You guys showed up. and we're awesome today. We just couldn't calibrate.
Couldn't hear ourselves think. I think we looked rattled through multiple timeouts. You guys saw it was a struggle out there tonight.
I definitely feel like the former Texas head coach is going to heap praise on the A&M fan base. I think that's probably going to happen.
I do like the message and the sentiment behind overrated though. Like I've never liked it, never understood like because his point is right. Yeah. It's also something an old man says after a loss, and Rick Barnes is an old man. But it's something
because Corey, you and I thought that in our 20s.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I always thought it was stupid to yell overrated. Always thought it was stupid to yell overrated. And in fact, I'm going to admit it bothered me when Florida State would be like ranked 5th and Miami 4th or Florida 3rd or something, and it would occasionally happen here in football. Yeah. What are you doing?
It's just such an elementary chant. It's what high school students chant because they're not clever enough to. You know what has as many? I was just thinking about this. You know what has as many syllables as overrated and has never been chanted? Got that ass whooped. Got that ass whooped.
That's what they should be doing.
Exactly,
that's what they should
man.
be doing.
Overrated is ridiculous. Got that ass whooped is a whole new level and kind of explains what's going on the court better.
The winner of the Dave Aranda Coach for Coach Speak Award of the Week is a tough one this week, guys. I think we want to go to Paul.
No.
Yeah.
You want to go to Paul? I like Stoudamire, man. I think he's changed the game.
I like Stoudamire a ton, and I didn't think anybody was going to rival, but 4 minutes of great material trumps the 30.
Brevity is the soul of wit, though, right? Isn't that the saying? Something like that? Like, man, my man said everything.
That's why I said it's tough this week.
In 4 words.
It's tough this week.
Corey just wants to get shirts printed.
I absolutely do.
Would you go with S's or Z's on the ass? Would you go
ass. He said ass. Yeah, got that ass whooped. Yeah.
Just remember,
Brady gets my vote. I think that was
all right. Y'all win. It's a democracy here. Y'all win 2-1. But the Stoudamire.
You know what just happened to you, Corey?
I got that ass whooped.
Got that ass whooped. That's right. The 2 senior members of Coach decided to rise up.
My fault.
See to that. Hey, great job, Ben. For Corey and Ira, I'm Jeff. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week.